Hey guys, so this is Riley, and I just wanted to take this moment to share what a huge win and what an exciting week publishing my book, getting my new spectacle to look a bit nerdy. but yeah, I just wanted to do a little sharing on and get a hang of YouTube a little bit to just share more about why I wrote the book Becoming Riley. It has nothing to do with me, although my name is Riley, but it's really more about how through the different tribulations and discoveries of, as a trans person, trying to figure out who am I, why do I exist, what is my purpose in life. That's really all, why, that was really, one of the main reasons why I wrote this book, to show and to tell people that you're not alone in this world and that there are some people out there that, like for me, like as a lighthouse, as I wrote, as a lighthouse, sometimes, we walk the pathless path. There's no one in front of us to guide us, to tell us what to do. And we can only look at outside and to see what other people are doing and kind of mimic that. But along the journey, you kind of figure out that's not really meant for you. That was not the path you were meant to walk. And so stepping out of that comfort zone to discover what is it for you to be you, right? That is why the book title is called The Permission Slip. As you can see, the permission slip to discover you. That's the whole intention of Becoming Riley. So for me to discover what is it like to be me, to find my identity. And when I say identity, it's nothing to do with gender per se, but it's really more about figuring out what is it that you are here, to be, to serve. And so I just thought that of sharing that. And so, as I'm looking at my notes here, so Becoming Riley, it's really through the different fragments of therapy that I have with my therapist, having chats with my therapy, how do I say? It's like, for me, how it started, how the book kind of started was really about, having a chat with my therapist, have it transcribed, and then kind of like reverse engineer it, like, okay, how do I overcome this? What is this name to this particular feeling or emotion or thoughts, right? And how do I reframe that? That's how I wrote this book. So when you read this book, it's not like you have to read everything in order. You can kind of skip chapters. So how I really recommend reading this book is by going to the content to see the different chapters and see which chapter resonates with you. And if it's not, then just try another one again. And in each of these chapters, there are journaling questions, there are prompting, reflection questions and prompts for you to kind of reflect about how do you feel about certain something, and to know that this is something that I personally experienced and perhaps you might have as well, but no one actually verbalized it for you. So that's one of the intention, kind of writing this book. So, and I quote from my own book, right? It's never a how-to book. It's never a 5-step framework. This book is more of a mirror to kind of see that, hey, you are not alone. We might go through something very different, but the experience might be quite similar. So this book, I hope that in times where you don't feel so good, you are lost, you feel stuck, you feel like you've done everything right, but you feel like, you don't want to feel alone, then this is the book that you go to. That's the intention of this book. Some of the key concepts or the chapters that I really, really love, I'm going to be sharing with you over this recording. I think it's really interesting because it kind of changed my mindset, and it's very rare for someone to be able to change my mindset. And the first thing I want to talk to you about is called the Shop of Becoming. If I'm not mistaken, I think is chapter 5. Oh, sorry, chapter 9, the Shop of Becoming. And the question is, what if the only permission I ever need was my own? I used to think that success meant performing, perfecting, and proving. That being said meant being ready. Then in order to open my shop, my metaphorical platform, my life offering, I had to first be worthy. The irony, worthiness doesn't come from waiting. It comes from willingness. I remember sitting in my office alone, a space I had built with so much intention, yet I froze. The rent was due, ads needed launching, campaign unfinished, and I was scrolling, eating, avoiding, procrastinating. I wasn't lazy, I was scared. I called it many things. Burnout, perfectionism, fatigue. But really, it was a fear of being seen, because if I opened shop and no one came, what would that mean about me? Worse still, what if they did come and I couldn't deliver? I used to dream of a day where people would pay me $500, $5,000, even $20,000. I knew I could do it. I had done it before. But deep down, I feel like a fraud. Like I didn't deserve it. Like I had cheated the system. Like every sale was stealing. Because I knew what it meant to grow up fast, to become the emotional adult in the room before I had even figured out who I was. There was no space to play, no softness, no rest, only performance. I wanted to empower others, to liberate them from jobs they hated, to teach them how to build lives by design, not by default. But I couldn't even convince myself to get out of bed without guilt. Was I the lighthouse, or just another flickering bulb? So I sat and stared, and let the shame wash over me, until one day I whispered to myself, what if I don't need to be perfect to begin? That was the moment I started to open the shop of becoming. To open the shop of becoming is to show up to your own life. Not just in theory, not just in plans, but in presence. It means you stop waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect version of yourself, or the perfect sets of circumstances, and instead you unlock the door as is. You sweep the floors of self-doubt. You turn on the lights of awareness and you begin placing pieces of yourself on the shelves, one truth at a time. Some shelves are still empty, some are messy, some hold grief disguised as wisdom. But that's okay, because this isn't a shop of outcome, it's a shop of becoming. To open your shop is to say, I'm here. I'm willing. I may not have it all figured out, but I won't stay hidden anymore. It's not about having all the answers, it's about being comfortable, not knowing the answers to say these questions, and be comfortable to say, I don't know. Even in the knowing, just be here, be present. Watch as people's expectation of you melt away, because you are human, not a know-it-all machine. It's okay to not know, because presence is the real inventory, and becoming isn't something you sell, it's something you live. So a reflective prompt, where in your life are you still waiting for permission? What would shift if you believe you already had everything you needed to start? So, that chapter, right, itself, is very interesting because when I first read or got inspired by the title, The Shop of Becoming, it's basically, you have perfected your craft, you have figured things out that most people wouldn't have figured on their own. And it really takes experience, right? It really takes time and patience, a lot of risks that was taken upon, and not knowing whether or not it will work out at the end of the day. For me, I've been living off credit card loans. I just borrow it just to pay off the rent. I know I needed to get ads out there, but I just couldn't move. And I just feel like such a fraud. Like, what if I'm just doing it for the sake of doing it? Like, I'm just doing it just for the sake of survival, just for the sake of the money, and that to me, I didn't feel very good, and so I went on that spiral of not like doing anything and just froze. And for me, it's like just going to the hotel. Just for me, it was just going to the office, sit in my very beautiful chair, stare out the window, enjoying the Singapore view, and that's it, right? Like just frozen in space and time. And so I realized that for me, it was to do with alignment. There was a lot of things that to me internally, there's a lot of shit that I haven't solved, haven't yet processed. So I got stuck, And so with my therapist and with the help of ChatGPT, I kind of had a conversation on how do I name these struggles? How can I process it? And how do I get over it, right? And so the next part of this book talks a lot about the formulas or the North Star, the principles, the core values of how I run my life currently. And it's the excitement formula inspired by Basha, and also following the least resistance by Abraham Hicks. And these are my bonus chapters in the last part of the book. And it tells you on really acting on even the tiniest thing that gives you a little bit of excitement is to really trust and follow your gut. For example, right now, today, or the last few days, I've been very tired. And logical me would be like, okay, you have to hustle, you got to put yourself out there, you got to do the videos, you got to do so many things just to you got to pay the bills, right? But then, I've been not having a very good sleep. I've been going home very, very late. And yes, I know all these things at the back of my head, right? But I feel like sometimes it's just like, well, I'm just following the flow, you know what I mean? So it's like, what do I do? What should I do? Should I push myself? Should I stay awake? And one thing I realized is that even though if I'm going to push, I have to recognize on one hand, I'm fortunate enough that I still have a roof over my head. I have somewhere to live, right? I'm fortunate enough that I can find food, I can travel because I have a vehicle, I have a motorcycle, and I'm grateful that I can afford it. These are the small things that I can be grateful for. Sometimes I really do forget it. But, and this is something inspired by Tony Robbins, which is if there is some kind of obstacle or blockages, our brain is trained to look at the negative. But what if, there's this exercise called what if? What if I didn't have a vehicle in the first place? Would I have this issue? You know what I mean? Like to look at the thing in introspection, in hindsight sometimes, So for me, it's like, sometimes I feel like I'm tired. What if I just sleep? To me is if I feel tired, then just sleep, right? Because I can afford it. I'm home. I am a freelancer. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm here solving, everyday problems in business. And my bed is just next door. Like if I can rest, then just rest. My body needs it, And, because of this book, looking forward in the month of July and the months ahead, it's like there's really no forecast business I can foresee until July comes, And I've already done the work. I already planted the seeds. Literally, I've planted the seeds in June. July is the month where the seeds will either germinate or die through the different experiments and stuff. And only in August would I know a certain results. And I will have more scrutiny and stuff like that, and more responsibility because I've planted seeds. So the question is, am I willing to do the work? Am I willing to show up? when the day comes, But in the meantime, there's nothing I can do. And I have to pat myself sometimes at the back of my shoulder, and I have to remind myself. And that's all I have to do, There's really nothing more to me. If I just need to do what I need to do to survive. But anything other than that is really more of a bonus. And I really thank myself and remind myself that that's something I should, what's that word? I should enjoy the abundance of, really. Right? So the formula of the excitement formula is act on your highest passion with no expectation or outcome. Just follow it, enjoy it, savor it, right? And just do it to the best of your ability until the next excitement thing comes out. Even if the next most exciting could be, I just want to sleep, I want to rest. That's the most desired feeling or outcome I really want to have, right? And just follow that and sleep. And then I check my message, and then it's like, oh, I got this job now. Okay, I go ahead and I push through the night and something like that. And that's my life. While some others, like my parents, would be like, oh, you shouldn't sleep so late because your body needs recovering. Well, that might be true, but I personally have the belief that if you follow the highest frequency, the highest excitement, your body naturally will recover whenever it needs as well. Okay, that's it. And if anything comes out, then let's just handle it step by step. And that's also another exercise which I think was quite interesting, is how do you figure out what is your limiting belief? Okay, so here's a simple exercise for you. For example, if money is something on most people's priority list, like I want to be a millionaire, I want to make whatsoever, right? So let's say you got that X amount in your head. For me, it's let's just say I want to pay off my debts, right, by the end of the year. Let's say my debts is like $30,000, okay, and I have 6 months towards the end of the year or towards a deadline, which is quite scary sometimes, right? Balancing between logical and emotional mind. So let me ask myself: is it possible for me to earn $30,000 in say 3 years? Okay, yes, of course. I think it's quite logical. Okay, how about in 2 years? Of course. 1 year? Yes, right? Now, let's just assume that a monthly salary is let's say starting pay is $3,000 and 1 year is $36,000, let alone expenses, right? $36,000. That's most people's basic income, like maybe a fresh grad income, right? $3,000, excluding CPF, right? And that was the salary I began 2 years ago, right? But in today's context, if you ask me, can I make $30,000 in 6 months? I think so. How about 5 months? Okay. 4 months, 3 months, 2 months. Now it gets very scary, right? So if I start to sense the tiniest little bit at the 6 month mark, can I make 30,000 in 6 months? Maybe not. Okay. That is where you start to have to dig deeper and start to figure out what are your limiting beliefs at that mark, at that timestamp of 6 months. I don't think so. Maybe. So long as there's that sense of maybe rather than certainty, then it's hell no. That's a limiting belief at that point of time. Okay, then you have to run through your thoughts as to why at that stage of your life do you feel like in 6 months I can't make $30,000. Is it because I have no products, or I don't know where to sell, how to sell, what to buy, etc., etc. That's where life processing really comes in, because we have to dig through the different layers of what's stopping you, what's your belief, where it comes from, your subconscious, what is it saying to you, etc., etc. And there's a difference between the logical mind or the conscious mind versus the subconscious mind. And that is where, as a processor, I come in to kind of handle those emotions and thought processes. And so if we can slowly remove it, then of course you can break through that. Okay, 6 months, no problem. Like right now, recently, I just managed to close a coaching deal, a coaching client. And that deal is worth anywhere from $3,000-$4,000, which was already paid upfront, but the longevity, right, is easily in well over 20 over thousand. I'm like, oh my God, holy shit, if I can close a deal in just 2-3 weeks, right? And that deal is already worth, let's say, $8,000 if things go smoothly because I sell it as a deliverable. Oh my God, if this goes through, I have 2, 3, 4 projects upfront, upline in the pipeline. And I'm like, oh my God, I've never made that much amount of money in such a period of time. And now the time is not limited to me, but it's the process, right? So 6 months now seems, it's so possible. And little did I realize, I've been hearing so much comments you can, you need to sell to rich people. You need to sell people with money. And well, I get that logically, but I just don't have the emotional connection to what is it like to sell to a high net worth client, right? And then I start to realize, oh my God, when I did it recently, I'm like, oh, that's it. No questions asked. They just trust 100% that you are the expert, you are the professional. They'll just say yes to everything that you say and suggest. I'm like, oh my God, I have never felt so alive and so respected, and my self-worth and my self-confidence just went off the roof. And that all happened in just under 2 months of hell. I was in such a shithole and not knowing what was tomorrow, how I'm going to pay the bills, and then this just came. That is just abundance, and that was just me following the excitement formula. That's it. That was how magical it was. So I really encourage you to read that chapter in that book. It's the last bonus chapter. You can jump straight right there, or you can just search up on YouTube this spiritual leader called Basha or Abraham Hicks. I would say now for me, I have evolved vibrationally to Basha. Basha, I think, is a higher level and it's more easier to understand. Really, really love it. I think it ties very well with the manifestation formula by Abraham Hicks. And just to briefly cover it, right, is one, you have to experience contrast, and it ties very, very well. Experience contrast, which I've experienced hell, right? And when I experience hell, well, I only know what heaven is, like the other spectrum of it. And then when you know what you want, what heaven is, right, you are in the first step of the second step of getting into the alignment of what is wanted. And now the only question is to break free of the limiting belief to step into the vibrational alignment, right? So for me is when I had shit, I'm like, oh my God, I hate this, I don't know what I want, but I know what I want to get out of this emotion. It's not a nice place to stay in, so naturally you just want to get out of. And one of the biggest challenges is to maintain that alignment, that excitement, that feeling like things are going to be fine. Like you can have all the brainwash, but you just can't get out of that panic state. Your body emotionally is not stable. So what has helped me, this came from Basha, is he said, your body knows subconsciously what is wanted and what is not wanted, what's good for you and what's not good for you. So if your body is called to do something or to not do something, pay attention to that subtle cue. And that really has helped me kind of like navigate through the shithole. To get what I want. And so that is really the step 3 or step 4 of maintaining the alignment, and of course embracing the contrast again. So after all of this 5-step, it's called the 5-step formula from Abraham Hicks, right? After you can maintain that alignment, that frequency, that emotional state, I am maintaining that vibration, I'm maintaining that frequency. Once I get what I wanted, it will start all over again. A new contrast will appear. Don't know what it is, not going to think about it because it will come anyways, but usually on the bright side, it's always getting you to a higher and higher different level. So that's what I really love about, sharing that book concept. So what I love about the book when I first printed out the sample copy and gave it to people and tried this experiment, is I gave people the book, they read it, and I only gave them the instruction, which is go to the content page, see what topics resonate, and just start from there. Okay, and the response was tears. People were just reading, they were going very deep, and then some people were like, that's me. And when I saw that, it really kind of put some strings in my heart to be like, oh my God, this is the book that I've always wanted for me, to show people the light, to show that they're not alone. And that was really the whole intention of this book. So the book, of course, is called Becoming Riley. You can get your copy at becomingriley.com. I only have the first 50 limited edition, magazine edition, because I was just printing out as the sample print, and so the paper is actually pretty heavy. It's about 400 grams, really like a magazine. I'm really proud of myself to be able to design it, everything from scratch, including the formatting of the book. If you find a mistake, please let me know so I can make adjustments to the next print. But yeah, I'm really proud of it, and I hope this book really can help you. It helps you share, especially if you're someone who is discovering yourself, trying to figure out who am I, what am I, who am I? I'm supposed to be, trying to figure out what's my purpose in life. And I'll just end off with this beautiful quote from Picasso. And it says this: the purpose of life is to find your gift. The meaning of life is to give it away. What does that mean? It means that all my life I've been asking the question, what is my purpose in life? What if the purpose of life is to discover, right? And then the meaning of life, my meaning of life, or to give life meaning, the fulfillment, is to give it away. This book is my form of giving it away, and I think that's why I feel so fulfilled by sharing this message, and I hope you get to benefit it. And if you do, please of course tag me. My social media handle is inside here. If not, it's at The Abundant Riley. Tag me, share your wins, and I'd love to hear from you. Anything that you can get inspired from the book, and I hope I can share this with more people. It's only just the beginning. I've self-published this, so if you are watching this, then it comes directly from me without any marketer yet. I don't know in the future if I will get a publisher, but I found out it's the only way to get access into the major bookstores around the world. So we'll see about that. But if not, then I think it's a very nice way to end this podcast, this sharing session. And join me at one of my events, my micro events, where we talk about the book, we do some journaling together. One thing I'm really excited about is kind of like a gathering plus workout, or gathering and like wellness retreat, something like that. I really love to do things together now, to have fun, to cry together, scream together, to suffer together. That's life, and I think that's something that really, really sparks joy, and I really encourage you to find yours too. If not, see you guys in the next video.